Knows Best.
Hi friends, welcome back to Brenna Knows Best. I'm your host, Brenna Berg. Hi, how are you guys? Happy Monday. Today's episode, I'm excited to get into. We're going to talk about creating the best dating profile. Okay. Beefing up that Hinge to get your dream man. Do you hear me? I was talking to Carter about it on the way to school. I'm like, okay, babe, I'm doing the episode today on dating profiles. And as a man, like you have other insights that I don't, because I know what a man's profile looks like from being on the apps, but girls, okay, we need the help, right? I know this is a very highly requested podcast episode. I get asked this all the time. People ask me to check out their profile, and I'm going to give you the tips. First, let's catch up, even though I have nothing to update you on. Since last week, nothing has happened. Quite literally nothing. I did, however, have a 3-hour conversation with LaDonna on Sunday. If you don't know who LaDonna is, get out of here. She's my grandma. And we were talking because she had a tough week taking care of my grandpa, and the family reunion is coming up in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks from when this video drops. I'm leaving on the 11th, and we were supposed to be going to South Dakota on the 12th. And she's like, Brenna, I just don't think that grandpa's going to be in good enough shape. She's like really stressing about it. And I'm like, do not go. Like, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be what you imagine, because grandpa's going to have such a hard time getting around. Like, it's going to be brutal, right? Like, I don't recommend it. And then I told her, I was like, Grandma, I don't want to go. Like, I would want to go if you guys were going, but I was like, since I'm coming home, right, I'll just hang out with you guys. And she's like, Brenna, no, they love you. And like, Sylvan Lake is beautiful. It's at Sylvan Lake outside of Rapid City, which is a gorgeous area. Like this lake, there's like tons of rocks. It is gorgeous, but also I love them. LaDonna and Gordy are my number ones. Okay, they are truly my number ones in this world, besides Carter and May, of course. And I only see them twice a week, so I'm coming to see them. And I know my dad and his girlfriend will still go because they live in the same city. They get to see my grandparents all the time. But I talked to LaDonna. I told her that to make her feel better, because I'm like, Grandma, if you guys don't go, I'll stay with you. We can just hang out. I can help you with Grandpa, even though he won't let me help. It's going to be perfect. And so she called me again on Tuesday. Oh, my IUD appointment, you guys. We'll get into that. So on Sunday when I talked to her, I was like, oh, Grandma, by the way, I'm getting my IUD replaced. And she was like, well, Grandpa has an appointment that day, so we'll like exchange info that day on how the appointments go. So she calls me, which she never calls me. I always call her. The only other time she has called me in my life is when my dad was in the hospital, like dying. Thankfully, he didn't. This was in 2020. This was in 2020, I think February, right before COVID. My dad is a type 1 diabetic, and his numbers, he just doesn't manage it. That's a whole other issue. But he literally almost died. It was like traumatic. But anyways, she called me that time and I was like, oh, something's wrong, because she never calls me. Do you have that with your like family? I'm like, so she's calling me and I'm like, I know they had an appointment, but like what happened that she's calling me? So I was on the phone. I was on FaceTime with my best friend, Natalie, catching up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to go. So then LaDonna calls. She's like, hi. She's like, okay, the appointment. She's like, the hip is not looking good. It's black and blue. And she's like, Brenna, I'm just so, and she immediately starts crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it just breaks my heart. And she's like, Brenna, though, she's like, I do not want you to stay back with us. I want you to go to the family reunion. You have to go. Like, you'll have so much fun. And I'm like, Grandma, I think it's so cute that you think you have power over me, but I choose what I do in this life and I'm staying. Like, it's just, no. I'm not going to fly up that way to like go see this family that I love and adore. But like these people I see every 3 years, which is sad that I won't see them. But like my grandparents. Okay, sorry to go into this tangent, but you guys will understand. So she texted me last night. They had another appointment on Wednesday, and she said, Brenna, Grandpa told the family that he's not coming because it was still up in the air. Like he was being stubborn and she was being realistic, and it was this thing. And she's like, we're going to stay. I love you. So I'm not going to the family reunion, which is sad, but I'm going to get quality time with LaDonna and Gordy. A good probably 4 days just hanging out at the house, which I think will be so nice and so good. So that's been decided. And because I'm going out of town, remember, I'm driving up to see my cousin and my godchildren and her children and my aunt and my other grandma who's like 90 years old. The couple days after, like I was planning to go to the family reunion for 4 days with this family, my grandparents. And then I was coming back to just immediately go up, and I have those plans set. So if I didn't stay in Bismarck, like I wouldn't get to see my grandparents. But anyways, I am excited because I'm going to go on runs in Bismarck and show you guys my hometown, which I'm so excited to vlog. There's one I'm going to do where I go by my high school and then I'll take everybody to the North Dakota Capitol because it's like right up the street. And it's our only tall building in the entire state. It has like 20 floors. That is the tallest building in North Dakota by far. Like there's not even anything close to that. Hilarious. I already have some ideas in mind. So I'm super excited about that. Running era, you guys, my tendinitis, it's not tendinitis, my Achilles, okay? It was really sore one day. I ran in the morning and then Carter and I went to the gym and I walked and read. I was like, oh, this shit is not feeling good. But I didn't stop because I'm an idiot. I was at like 20,000 steps. And then the next day was Tuesday, my IUD appointment. And while I was waiting in the waiting room, I was Googling WebMDing, like what's wrong with my Achilles? Like, is it, and it's definitely because I've just jumped back into running and was like so excessive, but I'm like, oh, is this like a chronic injury or what? So I took 3 days off. I took 2 days fully off. Oh, I lied. One, when I got my IUD. Yesterday, I went on a walk in the morning. And then this morning, I went on a 2-mile run and I felt great. Okay. I really don't want to hurt myself because I really am enjoying running. However, the IUD replacement, I got my IUD replaced. I'm not gonna get pregnant. Thank goodness. I'm going to do a full episode, I think, next week on not only the IUD appointment, and I'm going to tell you guys all about it, but I want to talk about birth control prior and kind of dive into a little bit of eating disorders. So if that's a trigger for you, maybe don't listen next week because I had an eating disorder and then I lost my period, which is why I started on birth control. So I'm going to kind of go over that and how I got to the IUD. So next week's episode will be all on that. That's all we're going to talk about. And so I'm not going to talk about that here. Let's just get into the books and the product of the week, which is so lame, but maybe you guys will like it. First of all, books. Okay, The Housemaid is Watching. This is the third book, Frida McFadden. She had The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret, and she just came out with this, The Housemaid is Watching. Loved it. Frida McFadden books, if you are new to reading, if you haven't read and you like mystery thriller, like that seems like something that would be up your alley. Her books are so easy to read, and the series I loved. Of course, was there a little bit of fluff? I'm like, okay, let's get to it. But honestly, like it's so quick and easy to read. And next, you guys, I am reading my first book on Libby on my iPad. If you are watching, I have my iPad here. I downloaded Libby. I got my library card, got on Libby, right? Like a couple weeks ago. And I was just scrolling. And my best friend's been supposed to give me, what, Brenna? My best friend has supposed to give me, that is not a sentence. It doesn't matter. Iron Flame. She's the one who borrowed me Fourth Wing, but I never see this bitch. Okay, even though she's my best fucking friend, I never freaking see her. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. However, this was on hold, or you could get it on hold, or however that works on Libby. So the very first day I was on there, I was like, oh, let me just like go. It said available in however many weeks. I was like, let me just do it. And if I get the book from her sooner, I will obviously withhold the hold, or get rid of the hold. But last week I got a notification and I haven't seen Natalie, and it was like Iron Flame is available. So I took it. So I am page 448 out of 911. So I'm about exactly halfway through, loving it. I love these books, you guys. So I think I'm going to read ACOTAR next. To all my ACOTAR bitches, be ready because I think I'll really like it. And I'm excited. I'm just going to buy the set and see how it goes. Oh, but what I wanted to say is now I'm unsure if I want a Kindle because the iPad is amazing. Like I've had no issues. I have the Blu-ray glasses or like blue light or whatever those are called, and it doesn't hurt my eyes. I actually went and read outside too at the pool and it was fine. I like it. So I don't think the Kindle is a necessary purchase. However, I think the Amazon sale is July 15th and 16th. So I am going to see how much it is. And if it's like $50, I'll get it. Cause I think there's one for like $100. But if not, like the iPad has been great for me and I already have this. So I hate buying things like I don't need another gadget. We'll see. Stay tuned. Product of the week, these goody hair ties. I posted this on my Instagram story a couple of days ago. These goody hair ties, you guys, they don't hurt. They don't get stuck. I have cut some of them out. Now that I know you can cut them out and just waste the fuck out of them, I've been doing it. But this little pack of 250, $1.19. $1.19. That's better than Amazon, you guys. Everybody defaults to Amazon because of the convenience. Y'all gotta look other places. I'm about to get a deal. I'm all about getting a deal. Okay. $119, $250. So I just ran into Target. There's one across the street and got those. And I love them. And I'm wearing them right now. I have 2 little poof balls in my hair. But anyways, y'all, let's just get into the episode. Oh, let me tell you guys something else really quick. And I'm going to whisper just in case so nobody hears me. Do you remember when I told you I was getting a manager? I cut ties with said manager. It was not what I expected it would be, and I'm sad about that. So I might look for like an established management company. I don't know, but it was giving me a lot of like, I don't get anxiety, but it was making me feel anxious. And I hadn't talked to her in a really long time. And I'm like, that's so weird that she hasn't reached out. Like, I don't know. And maybe I messed up, but I was just like, I was talking to Carter and he was like, Brenna, no, I think you can do everything on your own. If you want to find another management team, whatever. But like, I'm way less stressed when I'm not answering to somebody. Like about my content, I was like really freaking out about what I was putting out because I wanted to make sure it was good. And I don't know. Anyways, so I no longer have a manager. I'm free as can fucking be. And we'll see where that goes. That's a little life update that's been on my mind recently because I've been going back and forth. I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe I am the problem, but I just don't like this. I don't like it. And I want to have full control, which I did. But anywho, that's that. Anyways, let's get into the freaking episode. How to make the best dating profile for yourself. I am passionate about this topic because I met my boyfriend on Hinge, right? And I think I had a wonderful profile. And here is the thing. I think, like, for example, there was a TikTok going around about a girl who put her credit score on her Hinge, and it's genius. It's genius because any guy that's like somewhat financially savvy will love that. Like if you have a good credit score, if you have a 450 credit score, don't put that on. Do not put that on there. 500, unless it's very good, unless it's above 750, I think is the number. Don't put it on there. However, and I'm going to talk about this a lot in this episode, there are things you can do that are appealing to men and that will get you matches. Like that, for instance, will get a ton of matches for men that like finances or just anybody, because having a good credit score is a wonderful thing. Like that's a real wonderful thing to be financially literate and have a good credit score. However, there are things you can put on your profile to just get matches, but does that say anything about you? It does in the sense that it says that you're financially literate, but do you know what I mean? Like you don't want just a bunch of generic ass prompts and things that you think men will like, which is great and dandy, but they don't really know you. And of course, you can't portray yourself completely or fully on a dating app. However, we can do little things to hopefully give a small idea of who we are. And my 2 first tips just overall is number 1, after you make a profile or while you have a profile, look at that and think, does this portray me well? Like, is this a good representation of who I am genuinely? Like, does this look like me? Are these prompts me? Does it give them some idea of who I am? Okay. And the second thing I think you need to think about is, what kind of guy is this dating profile attracting? Okay. And what I'm saying is, I'm going to be a little harsh here, but if you're looking for an actual relationship and a great quality guy, which what is that? Just like a good man. Okay. If in every photo you have your tits out, okay, which I'm not shaming anybody. If you want your tits out, if you're looking to hook up, pop off. But if you're looking to actually get in a relationship with like a respectful guy, maybe don't have the photos. No, not maybe. Don't have photos with your tits out. Like, you know that, of course, will you get more matches potentially if it's like all of these photos of provocative, poses and things. Yeah, but what kind of guy is that attracting? Some guy that's just horny and wants to fuck. Hello. So with that also, besides like, that conversation, when you look at your profile, think like, what kind of guy would this attract? Like if I'm looking for a man who is, smart, has like a good job, is this, and this. Like, if I have photos all at the club, like that is going to probably attract another guy who just loves going out to the club. And not to say you cannot be both. Like, of course, there are some people that are super successful and all of these things and also go out to the club. Yes, but I'm saying if all of your photos are at the bar, like in the club, I think you're going to attract a man that you're probably going to attract more men that are not the best or what you're looking for, depending on what that is you're looking for. Okay. So in this, I am going to talk a lot about my perspective. And for example, when I was on the apps, like I wanted a man who could potentially be my husband. Like I was looking to seriously date. I obviously wanted a guy like either with a job, Carter was a law student, but like had a good job, if you want a man with a good family, which that is kind of with the wind. I now so feel different about that, but all of the X, Y's, and Z's, like look at your profile and think, would that man like my profile? Do you think? And again, I don't want to curate it perfectly. Like don't start throwing up photos of you in business suits. You're like, okay, I want a finance guy. I'm in my suit, all 6 photos. No, that's not what I'm saying. But do you get what I mean? I think that's really good because even to us, like, yeah, you can have all of these whatever photos. Like sometimes we're like, okay, let's just put the best photos of me. But if all of those best photos are you at the club, maybe don't do that. You might have to throw in just like regular old photos, which I do recommend. Okay, we're jumping right in. So those are my 2 first tips for you. How does this like, is this a good representation of me? And also, what kind of man do I think this would attract? Right? I'm just being so real and so blunt with you. And you can, of course, do what you want. And if you are just looking for a hookup and you're just looking for an ego boost and want a million matches, then post the provocative photos and do the like whatevers. But I'm just saying, like, narrow it down. Come up first with what the man you are looking for is like. Have your sort of, maybe not dream man, but ideal man. Like have your deal breakers, have what you would like, have, build this fictional man, okay, that you think you want, and then create a profile that you think that person would enjoy, would like. Okay, does that make sense? First, let's talk about photos because I feel like photos is pretty easy, especially as women. We have a lot of photos of ourselves. I think most of us do. I suggest, number 1, having a close-up, like selfie, or just like a photo close to your face, like something that shows your face, no sunglasses, like a clear shot, and a full body photo. And I get it. If you are insecure with your body for whatever reason, that can be scary. And again, we want to portray our best selves. And if we aren't confident in the way we look right now, number 1, I would encourage you to get to a place where you're feeling more confident in yourself and your body and whatever the thing is. But I think the best thing on your profile is to be straightforward. Of course, we're never going to put heinous, ugly photos of ourselves. But I think being realistic, because let's say, for example, that you're insecure with whatever the thing is. Let's say you have a huge ass and it makes you self-conscious and you only put photos of your face. So this man doesn't see what your body looks like. That is problemsome because I think when we have insecurities and we hide that, you're going to go on the first date. And number 1, this man doesn't really know what to expect. He probably made up an idea of what your body looks like if he didn't see it on the profile. And who knows, it could either be fine or it could be disappointing because he had no idea, which I don't think is fair to him. Just like how guys lie about their height, like that is so horrible. And like it could help both parties out a lot if we were all just like as honest as we could be. But also, then you going into the date, if you know that you hid your body, or let's say you face-tuned all of your photos, like your photos are all filtered and edited, and you walk into this date because you're already insecure, like this is the reason probably you put those photos up, like you're not super confident in that, or you don't feel good in your skin, which is so sad. And I hope we can work on that together. I can do episodes on confidence and being happy in your body, but then you're going into the date knowing that you hid your body because it's an insecurity, or your face is filtered and edited. Then you're super nervous. And if he has a bad reaction because you don't look like what he thought or what your profile portrayed, It's not fair to him. He's going to be upset. Then that's going to make you feel like, oh my gosh, he doesn't like the way I look, when that has nothing to do with it. And you could have avoided that if you just put real photos on your profile. So I know how badly we want to have the most perfect, wonderful photos of you, but I cannot stress enough that it helps not only them, but you feel better when your profile actually looks like you. Okay. That's my first thing about the photos. Okay. One close up and one body shot, because it puts it all on the table. They know what to expect. If they don't like this because they have a certain type about that, like, good. We don't want to match with men that aren't interested in whatever the thing is. Like, we want them to see exactly from the profile what we look like, and they can decide from there, just like you're doing with them. I never swiped right on a guy that was shorter than me. That is my right. Okay. And it sucks. But thankfully, the men that were honest, like, if he would have lied and said he was 5'11" and really he was 5'7", and I go on that date, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm immediately not attracted. It's just something in my brain that I don't like short men. Okay. When that could have been avoided if he would have just been honest. So it's the same thing. Like, I think if we can all just like be honest on our profiles, even when we don't want to be, wonderful. Next, I think your first 2 photos for sure should be of just you. I think the first 2 photos, which if they're 2 selfies, 2 full body, I don't care, but the less group photos, the better. Maybe you want to throw 1 or 2 to show you have friends. I think that's great. But when you put only group photos, nobody's taking the time to decipher. If I saw a man and all of his photos were group photos and then the last one was him individually, I wasn't going through all of those. I was swiping left. Like, it is a quick judgment app, okay? And if we can't determine who you are, like, next. Okay, so I would just keep the group photos to a minimum, okay? Like I said, no edited photos. And honestly, in my opinion, I would just steer clear of like sexy, provocative photos in general. Like, I just think it's not a good foot forward, in my opinion. And it's not going to attract a man that, or it's going to attract a man for the wrong reason. Okay. That is just my opinion. Do what you want. Of course, this is all my opinion. Do what you want, but I would say that. And then the last thing I would say about photos is to try and have photos showing your interest. So if you like to hike, have a photo of you hiking. If you have a dog, maybe have a photo of you and your dog. More things to say about you, because if they're just, every single photo was like just as I am sitting right here in my room posing, that's cute and fine and great. And at least they can see you. And then in your prompts, you can add a little spice. But I think the more you can showcase about yourself, the better. So that's what I would do. Okay, now let's get into the prompts and the bio. Number 1, I would just fill out your bio completely. And then the other thing that I wanted to note is if there is something major about you that you absolutely need them to know. For example, let's say you have a child. I have a lot of single moms that listen and are followers, and I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think you should put that on your profile because that's obviously a huge part of your life. And there are men that won't want to be a bonus dad, and there are plenty of men that would love that. But I think, again, being as honest as you can be upfront is the best, because if you didn't put that on your profile and you went on a date and then told him and he was like, oh, I would never date somebody with a child, obviously that could happen. I think you would save yourself a lot of time and heartbreak, if that makes sense. So I think those 2 things are important. As far as the prompts go, I Googled the prompts because I forgot what all of them are. There's so many to pick from, but I personally would try and think of like 3 major things about yourself, or 3 interests, or 3 hobbies. And it can be like loose. Like if you're a person who likes watching shows on Netflix, like saying something about your favorite show, or, you know, making that a point of conversation. I personally, again, I'm going to use myself because I'm me and that's the only perspective I have. I would put something, for example, about books, probably, since I've been reading a lot, probably about running. And let's think, maybe, especially now, about how I do social media probably full time. I don't know how I would put that in there, but like, again, your work, whatever that is. I remember back in the day, I think my prompts were something about going to bed at 8 p.m. because I felt like that would get rid of all the men who are like night people and like going out. Or, I would say something about being a non-drinker, because I think it's so good that Carter doesn't drink. And I think that was such a blessing that I didn't even know at the time I should have put on my profile. And I think that would attract the right guys to me. Like if men like to drink a lot and I had something on my profile about being a non-drinker, I think that would deter them. Oh, I would totally put that. I put something about coffee, I think. How I drank coffee all day, which is kind of lame. Don't do that. I would just try and make them unique and specific and stay away from the generics, the pineapple on pizza, the bullshit answers that everybody gets. Even though it might start a conversation, I think it's better to start a conversation about something you're interested in or something you guys would like eventually do together potentially, or like watch a movie, you know, like my favorite movie is this. I don't know. I'm not like a movie person, but does that make sense? I'll tell you what I think are good prompts to pick from. I wrote down a few. Number one, together we could. Okay. I think this is a wonderful thing. Together we could get up at 6 a.m. and go on a run. That would be something I would put. Like, I think that's great. And that'll attract a man potentially who enjoys running. And the thing about the prompts is they don't need to align with all of them. Then your next one's like, I would like, well, I'm using a fake prompt in my head, but you then say something about like going out to brunch every Sunday. Like that could attract, maybe he's not a runner, but like, again, that's why the variety is good. Do you need to align on all things? No, but giving a variety of things for them to, number one, talk about, but also have the same interests. Another one is good. I geek out on, or I go crazy for this. I think the prompts that are all about like stating what you enjoy or hobbies are wonderful. Some more. This year, I really want to blank. A life goal of mine is blank. Actually, this was on Carter's profile. His was this year, I really want to. Oh, this was mine. I had this year, I really want to play more pickleball, which has not happened again because Carter can't play because he broke his ankle a long time ago and he has screws in there. But anywho, that was one of mine about pickleball because I was really excited about pickleball at the time. So again, something that prompts. I think Carter's was this year, I really want to go to more concerts or something like that, which is great. Another one that I like, what if I told you that? The one thing you should know about me is let's make sure we're on the same page. And I'm going to dive into this, but I think try and be positive on your profile. Okay. Quit with the negativity. I'll go through some of the prompts that I just straight up don't like, but let's just get back into what I was saying. I won't shut up about blank. So these I all like because it just leads into things that you prefer, you like, your interests, your hobbies. Okay. Prompts I don't like. I'm looking for blank. Do not list on your profile every single thing that you're looking for in a man, because guess what? Every single man will become that man for a second. If you tell them who you're looking for or want them to be, they'll become that person. I think just don't do that one. As much as it is good intentions, like again, I understand why somebody originally would think to put these and it's like so smart and so good, but hold that to your chest. Your expectations, your standards, you have to know those and have your boundaries. Don't state them. Okay. Another one I don't like, the weirdest gift I've ever been given or received. Like that's so lame and that's so random. Like that is like a story. If there's something truly weird that you got, that can come up in a conversation, but on your profile, it gives nothing. Like if somebody had that on their profile, the weirdest gift I received is this. Like, okay, like what the fuck do you say to that? Hate that. You should not go out with me if, and I understand that maybe it's good intention. You're like, well, this is where I say, like, I won't go out with a liberal. Like, you can just deduce that from their profile because it says, like, you can put your political standings. I think just having negative prompts on your profile is just an overall bad thing. I think it's just like immediately, no. If I saw a guy just like go off about whatever he doesn't like, even if it doesn't have anything to do with me, that energy is just not positive and inviting and good. So like, don't put that on. Even if it's, you know, you're trying to weed people out, just weed them out organically. Like try and make your profile as just like light and fun and good as you can. That is just my opinion. Okay, another one I don't like, the most spontaneous thing I've ever done. How many times have you seen a man say, move to a city after 1 week, or moving to a city after having never been there, or booking flights 1 day in advance? Like, again, okay, but like that really tells you nothing about a person and vice versa. So I wouldn't put that on my profile. Like, I get it. Again, if there's like a really cool story, something happened, like that'll just come up in conversation. I think it's just a lame prompt. And then again, green flags I look for. Anything where you're stating like what it is you want, what kind of guy it is that you like, I think nope, because they will become that. Okay. So what we can deduce from that is having prompts just about yourself and keep it lighthearted, and it's not that serious. But I would just sit down and think about like, what are some just like general things about me? Like if you're really close with your family, then put something on there about visiting your family every week. Like if that's something that's important to you, and they probably should know that, put that on there, if it's a big part of your life. Does that make sense? I think this is good. I think you guys are understanding. You're getting the gist. Do not make a profile that's catered towards every guy. Like if you see on social media, this is a great prompt to have. Oh, my least favorite. And again, I know it comes from a good place, but like the best way to ask me out is to just ask. I get it. Number one, men are then going to ask. Like you're already having to tell them what to do. Like men know that. And if they don't, it will weed themselves out. If they don't ask you on a date, like then you have to have the boundaries and say no. Okay. But when you put that on your profile, number one, you're either going to tell them to do that. They'll do it because that's on your profile and not because they genuinely were going to, which again, there are things you can do on your profile to get the dates, to get the matches. But like, I would rather just make a profile that's as good as it can be about me and my hobbies, and then finding a guy that aligns with that without telling him, without saying I'm looking for this, without saying like the green flags I'm looking for. Because yeah, it's all fun and games, and maybe a guy could be that, but I think a lot of men will just turn into that person for a little bit to get you, and like that's not the goal. Does that make sense? I hope this was super helpful. As far as then after matching, you guys know how I feel about all of this. Like number one, if he asks for your Snapchat immediately or at any point, no. Like that's a hard no to me. And I said this to Carter, and he was like, if guys still have Snapchat at this age, like that just is not the kind of guy you want to go out with. I'm like, thank you. It's funny because I'm trying to think what else Carter told me. Basically everything that I'm talking about, we talked about, but he was like, girls' profiles are super generic too. There's always something about brunch. There's always something about loves dogs. Like, yeah, we get it. Most people do like dogs. Not everybody. Kelly, sorry if you're listening. Again, you want it to be like lighthearted and not that serious, but like a little bit specific, because if your prompts are loves dogs, loves brunch, loves my family. Okay, that is like literally the majority of people. I think getting a little more specific would be good. Oh, back to what I was talking about. If he asks for your Snapchat, immediately no. If he says, what's up? If you are using Hinge, and Hinge is the one that I prefer and that I was talking about in this, if you're looking to actually date, I personally think Hinge is the best. I really do. I stand behind that. I hate Bumble. Tinder doesn't have enough info. I just don't like that. But if on Hinge, a man is literally saying, hey, what's up? No. Immediately, no. He's messaging every girl that, put in a little effort. The prompts are there to have a conversation. And if he literally can't take the time or doesn't take the time to look at your profile and come up with a conversation from your prompts, he is not serious about this. He just wants to chit chat, pen pal. No, those are two of my hard no's. My favorite is when men just said something about a prompt, started a conversation about anything. Love that. And then Carter mentioned this morning, he was like, you have to talk about the timeline. And he was like, I think it's good that you, number one, right away, there should be that. There should be a conversation, a little bit of banter. I think you should start out with the conversation. And if you're attracted to them and you feel good and the conversation is somewhat flowing, get on a date. Carter said, if it doesn't get on a date in a week, no, it's probably not going to. And he's not serious about dating if he's not asking right away. There is no reason to sit and text more than a week. And I obviously stand by that. I was so proud of him. I said, oh my gosh, do you watch my videos? Because I agree. And I get it. It can be scary going on dates with men, but go on dates in a public place, drive yourself there. And if you're around people and give your friend your location, I don't think it should be that scary. If it's an social anxiety thing, you're going to have to just get over that. But if you're genuinely scared for your life, you're going to get murdered, I obviously feel for you and I get it. But I think if it's in the middle of the day, okay, at a public place, you're going to be okay. Like, go there first. Don't leave the premise without him if that's something you're really worried about. But I think you don't really know somebody via text, and it's better to get on the date if you're serious about dates. And I just will always stand behind that. Okay, let's answer a few questions. If we want to talk more about Hinge, things to do, things not to do, please let me know. But I just wanted to talk about like how I would create a profile and how I did create my profile back in the day. Okay, somebody asked me height difference in dating. That is personal preference. Everything in dating is personal preference. Age gaps, height difference. Like me personally, I could never date a man shorter than me because I hate feeling larger than a man that I'm dating. Even if he was taller, but like super skinny, I just hate that. That is up to you. You get to decide what's good. If he's super tall, like if you're asking me that he's really tall and you're short, if it's like a functional problem, like if you literally don't get intimate because you can't, like that's a problem, but I don't see anything wrong. Like you can have whatever height difference you want. Where are some places on your travel bucket list? What a wonderful question. I really want to go to Wimbledon. I don't have destinations per se. I have events that I want to go to. I want to go to Wimbledon in London so badly, the tennis tournament, which I will before I die. I also really want to do an African safari so badly, to be out there with the animals. Those are like the top two things that immediately come to my brain. Other than that, like I love to travel. I would go anywhere, like anywhere in Europe, anywhere in the UK, Australia, wherever. I'm happy to go wherever. Okay, I told Carter about this question earlier. I was cracking up and I think she's being very serious, but she said, how do I tell my parents I'm pregnant? #planned. So they've probably been together a while or married. It feels like nasty to tell them. Well, your parents did the nasty and that's why you're here. That's crazy. Maybe your parents are just like super strict. I really have no advice because I will tell everybody right now that me and my boyfriend have sex. And when we have a kid, that is exactly how it happened. Is that why you're scared to tell them? I just would rip off the Band-Aid. Like they understand. They did it. You are here. That's all I have to say on that. Oh, this is a good question. Advice for traveling with a new boyfriend. Traveling with a new boyfriend is putting your relationship to the absolute biggest test. Okay? I just suggest being on your best behavior, trying not to be psycho. If he doesn't go through TSA the same way that you do, that's okay. Okay, not everybody is supposed to be like us. If you're flying, that's like a real thing. I remember with an ex-boyfriend, he would take so long and I'm like, hurry up. But it's like, hello, it's like not that serious. But I think traveling and moving bring out the worst in people. I would just be like communicative. And also if you're going somewhere, you're probably going to be together 24/7. Like if you need space or you need time to sit on your phone, just be like, babe, I'm feeling like overwhelmed. I just need like a moment to myself. It has nothing to do with you. I love you, but like, I'm just not used to being by myself or being with somebody for this amount of time. Take a moment for yourself. Like just over communicate about everything and anything that you're feeling and it'll be fun. Oh my gosh, but those first trips with boyfriends are like so fun. Doing new things, experiencing different places with each other is amazing, but just over communicate. Oh, this one's good. I was thinking about getting back with my ex. What do you think? Don't do it! Do you want him to ruin your life again? Is that what you want? Do not do it. Nothing good is going to come from it. I swear to you. Don't do it. How do you break up with a guy after dating over 2 years and your paths will cross? You just have to rip off the Band-Aid and it's not going to be easy. And if you're asking this question, you've thought about it. Every single breakup that I've initiated, it took me a while. Like I knew I needed to do it, but it takes time to like fully do it because all of my relationships were really good and that's okay. And I had a friend that went through this once. But the sooner you do it, the better. And your paths are going to cross, but it'll get easier. Like obviously at the beginning, it's going to be hard. But if that's not your person, you're only wasting both of your times, each of your own times. I don't know how to say that, but does that make sense? And you will feel maybe immediately not good, but I promise like the next day immensely better that you got it done with. Like that feeling of like, oh, I need to do this. Like this isn't right. I hate that feeling. And once you break up, like you will feel relief. Of course, there will be sadness mixed in, but the sooner you can do it, the better. And if your paths cross, that does stink, but in the moment, it will be hard, but even he will be thankful in the future that you did that. Because if you're not in it, like if one person doesn't want to be in the relationship, then it's not a good relationship. Like he will be thankful that you did that and he can find his person one day and you'll find yours. Okay, spill. How do we become run girlies? Tell us all your tricks, please. And also, hi, I love you so much. Okay, here are my tips and tricks to start running or any form of exercise. You just gotta do it. But for running specifically, number one, like have the smallest goals. Like for example, your first goal can be to run a quarter mile straight, 0.25 miles, 400 meters. That can be the first goal, okay? And I would suggest when you're thinking about starting, number one, like go on a walk and just do interval runs, nothing planned, nothing specific, just like run down one block. Let's say you're walking on a street, okay, with houses, like tell yourself that once you hit the first block, you'll run to the end of it. It doesn't have to be fast. You can run literally so slow, but just then, okay. And if that's it for the day, that's it. Okay. Tomorrow, then push yourself, maybe run 2 blocks. Like it sounds so dumb. And I will never be the bitch. Like even if I were to run a marathon, I will never forget when I started running and I was running on a treadmill because this was in North Dakota. I would just turn my speed up to, I don't even know what, 6.0. I would run for as much as I could. I would just walk. And then the next day I would try and do a little more and it slowly gets easier. For example, when I started my first run, I ran a half a mile, I think. Then the next day I did 2 half miles, which obviously creates a mile, but I did it in intervals because that's all I could do. And now today, this was like a couple weeks ago, I felt so good on my 1 mile. Like I was like, oh, this is easy peasy. It just slowly gets better. So number one, run slow. Like literally, you might be able to fast walk faster than you run, but just do it and go as far as you can without pushing yourself too much. Like obviously you need to push yourself and get yourself to do it. But I think those first few runs, like having realistic expectations that you might not even be able to run for a quarter mile, that's so normal. That's okay. Run 0.1. Like that's typically a block is about 1/10 of a mile. Just jog that. Okay. Then tomorrow do a little bit more than you did or do the same and it'll get easier and easier. I don't like to get so caught up in like the shoes and all of the bullshit. Like wear what you're comfortable in. Obviously, if you don't have any running shoes, maybe go get some running shoes at Famous Footwear or whatever. They don't need to be the Hokas. They don't need to be the New Balance. Like whatever is cheap and easy, like maybe do a few Google reviews to see that they're decent running shoes and that they feel good on your feet. But it's so easy to get hung up on that. Like I remember when everybody and their moms was like, if you're starting running, you need Hokas. Shut the fuck up. No, you don't. Okay. People just need to like run, just need to move your ass. Okay. And what are my other tips? Do not look at, especially me or anybody, and compare yourself. Just like do what you can. And I promise it gets a little bit easier every day, even when it doesn't feel like it. Okay. But the way you feel after the runner's high, so worth it. So worth it. And that's what I get excited for every day. I'm like, oh, I'm going to feel so good after this. Those are my tips for right now. Thank you. Having a crush on / sleeping with best guy friend. Pros and cons. You know the pros and cons. The cons are that this could end your friendship. This could definitely be the end of it if it doesn't go well, and it likely won't. I think that's just statistics, like the odds that this is your person. Of course it can happen, of course. But I'm just saying, like, be realistic. So are you okay with that friendship being done? And also, like, I would so much rather try and then it ends and like that's it and have that chapter with that person. Like, you can make other friends, you will have other partners. Like, I would rather try to see if that is your potential person. If you're just looking to hook up, that is fine. You can do that, but it's going to get messy and it's still going to ruin the friendship. So maybe if you are very close with him and you don't want anything to come between you, don't do that. Don't sleep with him. Don't do anything. That's my advice. Oh, this is a good question. I feel terrible rejecting someone after dates. Any tips to feel better with letting them down? No. I literally am the same as you, you just feel guilty and so sad for them, which is like so annoying and so weird, but it's just like human nature. I don't think there's a way to make it easier, especially if they're like a really nice guy. It's going to suck, but like you get over it and then you go on another date. I really don't have any advice. Maybe I shouldn't have picked that question, but I wanted to let you know that's like a very real feeling, but there's nothing you can do or say to make it any easier. The quicker you can do it, the better. Like if you know that it's not going anywhere, don't keep going on dates. I think that will help yourself because the more you lead them on, you know when you're leading them on, and that's just like an icky feeling. So I think the quicker you can do it, the better. But there's nothing like you can say, because the problem is if you try and be like overly nice, like I think that doesn't send the message that you're serious about it. So you got to be kind of blunt, but just know you're going to feel a little guilty because it's sad, because we don't like feeling rejected. So we know that like if they were excited or wanted to keep seeing you and you don't, like you know how they're going to be feeling, but it's a normal feeling. And if anybody has a tip for this, let me know and I'll share it in the next episode. Oh, this is a good one. Dating a divorced baby daddy. I think that number one, you have to be so clear if you are okay being a bonus mom. Like if that is something you're okay with, because I think there are people out there that would know that they have a child, know that they have an ex-wife, but not be okay with that and still try and date and then be a psycho bitch. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's very real. It's a problem. Don't be that way. So get clear with yourself if you are okay with that genuinely, which I think is wonderful. I think especially the older we get, if you're dating in your 30s, like the likelihood of somebody being divorced or potentially having kids is higher than it was in our 20s. Just like naturally, that is just like fact, statistics, obviously. And I think that's okay. Like we are humans, we make mistakes. I think if it's something that you'll never be able to get over, just don't enter into that territory. But also, I think my biggest piece of advice is letting your partner know. I think it's totally fair to say, like, having your boundaries. If let's say him and his ex-wife are super close and do things together as a family with the child, like some people think that's okay and would be okay with that. But if you're not, like, you have to speak and make sure that if there are areas where you're not okay with certain things, say that to him. Don't make him do anything. He's going to do what he wants to do. If let's say the scenario I just said happens and you're not okay with it and he's like, well, this is how it is, he's just not the one. Like that's just never going to be a good thing. But if he loves you and cares about you and knows like it's coming from a good place, it's just like weird and uncomfortable and you don't like that, he'll like, okay, like I can stop doing this. Like he also should understand that like his future is now with you. I would think most people, like obviously there's a past there. Obviously they need to communicate. Obviously, as far as the kid goes, like that's a thing. But I think number one, is he a good, strong like man that will stand up for you and put boundaries in place if you need them? And then just deciding for yourself if that's something you're okay with and being vocal, because you can't sit here and fester on things and he has no idea. Like you need to over communicate in that situation, I would say. Oh, tips on being active despite the Texas summer heat. I'm dying but can't stand being inside. Get up early. Like if you're trying to go on walks or go on runs like I am, go out as soon as the sun gets up. Or the evenings are still gross. I prefer the morning. Or get a gym membership. Or if you live in an apartment, do stuff there. It is hard though. Or you also just say, hey, I'm going to sweat like a motherfucking sweaty bitch. And that's that. And just accept it. Fun things to do in your single era. Number one, go to things by yourself. Like even if you don't have friends, or if you have friends, go to things. But when I was in my single girl era, I went on solo trips. I went to concerts by myself. I went to tennis tournaments by myself. Just like go out and go to a park and read your book or go to a coffee shop. Do whatever the fuck you want. Being single is so wonderful. And again, I know it's so easy for me to say that when I'm in a relationship, but like the freedom that you have to literally do whatever you want, whenever you want is a beautiful thing. Go to the mall, walk around, like, oh my gosh, do everything. And you can do things by yourself. Like I think people in their single era, they're like, I need a friend. You don't need anybody. Like, and I encourage And I encourage you do things by yourself because I think you'll learn a lot. Go to an art museum, like literally whatever your interests are, go and do them. Go to a sporting event by yourself. Like you'll meet people there or you'll just enjoy it if you like that kind of thing. Do anything and everything that you want to. That's my advice. Okay, you guys, I need to wrap this up here. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it was helpful. Next week, I think I'm going to do an episode on my IUD or just birth control in general. And then there was another. Oh, I also eventually want to do a topic on drinking and alcoholism and like my journey with alcohol. And another thing that I wanted to do an episode on is, which maybe I'll talk about it next week, is like the eating disorder era that I had, which was like not cute, not fun, but I think sharing information is always good. And I think that's what this page is all about. But you tell me what you guys want to see. I love you so much. I hope you have the best week and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.